Out here, in the heart of America, the fields remember. They remember the hands that worked them, the engines that sang through the dawn, and the colors that built our lives: green, red, orange, and gold. These weren't just tractors, they were family. Join us as we bring back 5 legends of the Heartland, machines that still echo across every Ohio sunrise. Take a breath of that country air, and let's bring the past to life. Oliver 77. The year was 1948. America was finding its rhythm again after the war. Out across the rolling plains of Ohio, the smell of fresh-cut hay hung in the morning air. And from the factory floors of Oliver Farm Equipment Company, in Charles City, Iowa, came a machine that would win the hearts of farmers for generations, the Oliver 77. Back then, she sold for about $2,500, a small fortune for most farm families. Yet she paid her way in loyalty and power. More than 150,000 units were built, and across the Midwest, none were loved quite like in Ohio. To many folks, it wasn't just a tractor. It was a partner in the field, a faithful friend through rain, wind, and sun. The Oliver 77 carried a 6-cylinder gasoline engine, displacing 216 cubic inches, rated around 38 horsepower at the PTO and 33 drawbar horsepower. She revved smoothly at about 1,650 revolutions per minute, with a 6 forward, 2 reverse gearbox, and a 16-gallon fuel tank. Weighing roughly 3,800 pounds, she could pull a 3-bottom plow without breaking a sweat. Later models offered diesel and LP gas versions, giving farmers the choice that suited their land and budget best. Strong enough for the big work, nimble enough for the small fields, that was the 77's charm. If you've ever heard an Oliver 77 start on a cool morning, you'll never forget it. That deep, steady rum of the 6-cylinder engine, the soft smell of oil and soil rising together. The steel steering wheel cool to the touch, vibrating gently as the tractor found its rhythm down the furrows. Each gear shift had that crisp click sound, solid, honest, dependable. And when evening came, the sun falling behind the red barn, you could see a farmer leaning back on the rear tire, wiping his brow, proud, content, at peace. Parts were easy to find back then, and the 77 rarely let a man down. Even today, at farm shows across Ohio, when someone fires one up, people still stop and smile. It's not just noise, it's the sound of the American heartland. If you're lucky enough to find one today, look closely at the frame and transmission housing. Time and hard work can leave cracks there. Check the exhaust manifold and ignition system, since many old 77s were patched and repatched through decades of use. An original Oliver badge on the nose and a working RPM gauge are treasures in themselves. Replacement parts can still be found from small shops across the Midwest. Restoring one is more than mechanical work, it's a journey back into America's simpler days, when iron, sweat, and faith built the nation. The Oliver 77 became a symbol of post-war American farming, of families who believed in hard work, community, and the land beneath their boots. It helped bring Ohio farms into a new age of mechanization, one field at a time. And even now, when a 77 rolls across the field, folks pause, and in that sound, they hear the echo of their fathers and grandfathers, steady as ever. Across the fields, the hum of the green engine still whispers the song of the soil. But before the green machines took over the Midwest, there was a bright red legend that carried America through the hard years. The Farmall H. Farmall H. The year was 1939. America was still shaking off the dust of the Great Depression. Farm families across Ohio worked from dawn to dusk, their mules tired, their hearts steady. Then, from Chicago, the International Harvester Company unveiled a bright red promise, the Farmall H. Selling for about $825, it wasn't cheap, but it was attainable. More than 390,000 units would roll out before 1953, each one a flash of red against the golden corn. In counties like Madison, Union, and Clark, you could spot that red frame from a mile away and know a man behind the wheel who believed in progress. Under the hood sat a C152 four-cylinder gasoline engine, displacing 152 cubic inches. It produced about 26 horsepower at the PTO and 24 at the drawbar. Top speed? Roughly 16 miles per hour, with a 5-speed gearbox that shifted smooth and sure. Fuel tank held 21 gallons, enough for a long day's plowing. Weighing near 4,800 pounds, it was strong yet light on its feet, perfect for two-row cultivation, a lifesaver for small-to-mid farms of Ohio's flat country. Turn the key, pull the choke, and the Farmall H comes alive with that soft popping rhythm, put. A puff of gray exhaust curls into the morning haze. The metal seat is cool against your jeans, the steering wheel rough from years of use. You smell the faint sweetness of gasoline and the earthy scent of dew. The wind catches your hat brim as you ease down the first furrow, and for a moment, life feels right. The H was simple to maintain. A farmhand could swap plugs or tune a carburetor before lunch. Parts were everywhere, at feed stores, hardware shops, or neighbor barns. Stories tell of an Ohio farmer who lost his H in the 1950 flood, only to pull it from the mud, rinse it off, change the oil, and drive it to church the next Sunday. That's the kind of faith these machines inspired. If you're hunting one today, check the rear axle seals and brake housings. Years of fieldwork leave their mark there. Make sure the hydraulic lift-all system still hums true. It's the heart of her utility. Original IH emblems on the nose and pressed steel wheels add real collector charm. Fortunately, the Farmall H enjoys a strong restoration community. Reproduction parts are easy to find across the Midwest. A well-restored H, gleaming in that classic international red, isn't just a machine, it's a memory you can drive. The Farmall H turned America's family farms into efficient, mechanized miracles. It carried generations through wartime shortages and peacetime prosperity. To Ohio's farmers, that red paint meant reliability, a friend that never quit, even when the fields were wet and the days were long. Long after sunset, the red glow of a Farmall H still warms the heartland. But soon, a new shade of green would rise over the horizon, a bigger, stronger machine that redefined modern horsepower. The John Deere 4020. John Deere 4020. It was 1963, a time when America's farms were growing faster, broader, and more ambitious than ever before. From Waterloo, Iowa, the engineers at John Deere rolled out a new kind of machine, not just bigger, but smarter. It was called the John Deere 4020, and it would come to define an entire generation of American farming. With a base price around $10,000, it was an investment few took lightly. Yet, by the time production ended in 1972, more than 184,000 units had left the factory floor, more than any other tractor of its class. Across Ohio's grain belt, from Lima to Springfield, the 4020 became a familiar sight, its green frame cutting across golden wheat under the summer sun. Underneath that long hood sat the mighty 404 cubic inch, 6-cylinder diesel engine, producing about 95 PTO horsepower, a number unheard of for most family farms in the early 60s. It featured 8 forward gears and 2 reverse, with the revolutionary synchro-range transmission, allowing smooth shifts on the go. The tractor weighed nearly 9,500 pounds, held 34 gallons of diesel, and could pull heavy implements that once required 2 smaller tractors. Optional power shift transmission, hydraulic remotes, and 3-point hitch made it as versatile as it was strong. For many farmers, this was the moment they truly entered the modern mechanical era. To climb into a 4020 was to feel like you were stepping into the future. The key turned with a confident click, and the diesel engine rolled to life, a steady, low growl that you could feel through your boots. The power steering made it smooth as silk. The seat suspension soaked up the bumps. And when the throttle opened wide, that six-cylinder sang a deep, thunderous hymn that echoed down the rows. You could smell the diesel, the heat of metal against morning air, and the scent of soil rising behind the plow. For the young farmers of Ohio, it wasn't just another machine, it was pride, progress, and promise, all wrapped in green and yellow. Many remember sitting beside their fathers on the fender, tiny hands gripping the cold steel rail, feeling the rhythm of the land through the hum of the 4020. Finding a 4020 today is like uncovering a piece of American strength. Check for hydraulic leaks near the steering and PTO seals. Years of hard labor can wear them thin. The synchro range transmission is tough, but gears can grind if not serviced properly. Look for tractors with original gauges, factory lights, and the John Deere emblem still bright on the nose. Parts remain widely available, and many are still working tractors, not just showpieces. Restoring one isn't only about mechanics, it's about preserving the confidence of a generation that believed technology could honor the land, not replace it. The John Deere 4020 wasn't just powerful, it was transformational. It set a new benchmark for comfort, versatility, and reliability, bridging the gap between old and new. For Ohio farmers, it represented independence, the ability to do more, go farther, and still stay rooted in family and soil. Even today, many 4020s still run every harvest, their paint faded but their spirit untouched. Some machines grow old, the 4020 simply grows legendary. But not every hero wore green. In the 1950s, before the revolution of comfort and diesel, there was a bright orange workhorse that kept the fields alive through grit and determination. The Allis-Chalmers WD45. Allis-Chalmers WD45. The year was 1953, and the world was changing fast. Tractors were no longer just about pulling plows, they were about making life easier, safer, and more efficient for hard-working families across the Midwest. From West Allis, Wisconsin, came a blaze of orange that would burn its way into American history, the Allis-Chalmers WD45. At around $2,400 new, it wasn't the cheapest on the market, but it earned every penny. Between 1953 and 1957, over 90,000 WD45s rolled off the line. And in the fields of Ohio, its bright color was more than paint, it was a symbol of perseverance. Families trusted that orange because it meant innovation wrapped in reliability. The WD45 carried a 226 cubic inch, four-cylinder engine, available in both gasoline and diesel versions. The gas model delivered 39 horsepower at the PTO and around 34 drawbar horsepower, while the diesel reached nearly 44 horsepower, a big leap in its day. It featured the iconic Power Director transmission, offering 2-speed ranges that could shift on the go, giving farmers 8 forward and 2 reverse combinations. Weighing about 4,000 pounds, with a fuel capacity of 15 gallons, it could handle 3 bottom plows and heavy haying rigs with ease. That orange machine wasn't just muscle, it was brains and brawn working together. Sit down on the steel seat of a WD45 on a cool Ohio morning, and you'll feel it before you hear it. A small vibration through the frame, the faint rattle of tools in the toolbox, then the steady growl that says she's ready for work. The exhaust pipe gives a puff of blue smoke, carrying that warm, oily scent of pure mid-century horsepower. Hands on the wheel, boots firm on the clutch, the Power Director lets you ease forward, smooth and confident. On those long summer days, the orange hood shimmered under the sun like molten copper. Farmers remember how the WD45 could pull a baler all afternoon and still idle quiet at dusk while kids climbed the fenders, watching fireflies over the fields. It was the kind of machine you could trust like an old friend, strong, loyal, and never one to quit first. If you find a WD45 today, listen first, the engine tone will tell you its story. Check for cracks in the transmission housing, especially around the Power Director lever. Inspect the rear axle seals and steering assembly, as decades of work can wear them thin. Original AC badges, white front axles, and that distinct orange paint had real collector value. Replacement parts remain easy to find across the Midwest, and a well-restored WD45 can still turn heads at a county fair. Owning one is not just about collecting, it's about keeping the fire of rural America burning bright. The Allis-Chalmers WD45 was more than a tractor, it was a bridge between eras. It taught America that progress didn't mean leaving tradition behind, it meant making tradition stronger. For Ohio farmers, its reliability meant freedom, the chance to farm smarter, live better, and still greet each sunrise with pride. When the fields glow orange in the evening light, you can almost hear the WD45 still working. And before we close this journey through time, there's one more machine painted in sunshine yellow that sang the final verse of the Heartland's golden age. The Minneapolis-Moline U. Minneapolis-Moline U. It was 1938, just before the storm clouds of war gathered. Across the Midwestern plains, from Minnesota down to Ohio, farmers dreamed of strength, dependability, and a brighter tomorrow. From the Minneapolis-Moline Company, born of three great names, Minneapolis Steel, Minneapolis Threshing Machine, and Moline Plow, came a tractor that looked like sunshine itself, the Minneapolis-Moline Model U. With a price around $1,900, the U promised comfort and endurance at a time when both were rare. Over 33,000 units would be built between 1938 and 1957, its golden hue becoming a familiar glow on countless farms. In the early mornings of Ohio, when the mist lifted and that yellow frame cut across the field, folks said it looked like the dawn itself was plowing the land. Beneath its long hood lay a four-cylinder, 283 cubic inch engine, producing roughly 36 PTO horsepower and 31 at the drawbar. It ran at 1,400 revolutions per minute, used a 5-speed transmission, and weighed close to 6,000 pounds solid, grounded, ready for work. The fuel tank held about 20 gallons, and the U could pull a 3-bottom plow all day without complaint. Later versions, the UTS and UB, added diesel and propane options, but the heart of the U remained the same, steady, simple, and built to last longer than the barn it sat beside. Climb onto a U in the soft light of dawn and you'll feel the story of the soil beneath you. The metal fenders are cool, the steering wheel broad and solid. When the motor catches, the air trembles, a gentle, rhythmic rumble that travels up through your boots. You smell the mix of warm oil, cut hay, and diesel smoke, and the morning wind tastes faintly of dust and grain. As the tractor moves, its exhaust sings a low, proud hum, not loud, not hurried, just certain. The sunlight glints off the yellow paint like a halo. In Ohio's wide fields, farmers trusted that song. They said the Moline U didn't just work the land, it understood it. And when the day ended, that golden machine sat quiet in the fading light, a silhouette of pure American grit. Today, finding a Minneapolis-Moline U in good shape is like uncovering a buried hymn of the Heartland. Look carefully at the clutch housing and rear axle bearings, decades of pulling heavy loads can wear them thin. Check the magneto ignition and carburetor throat, where age and rust often meet. Original U emblems, cast iron front wheels, and the distinct yellow paint add great collector value. Restoring one is an act of reverence, a chance to bring back the golden color of the fields and the music of a simpler age. The Minneapolis-Moline U was the golden heartbeat of the pre-war Midwest, the machine that carried America from horsepower to horsepower. In Ohio and beyond, it stood for more than efficiency. It stood for hope, for the promise that hard work and honest steel could build a better life. Even now, at old tractor shows and county fairs, when a U rolls by, people stop talking and listen. That sound isn't just machinery. It's memory. In the fading sun, the golden tractor hums the last song of the Heartland. And so our journey ends, from the green fields of Oliver to the red of Farmall, the bold John Deere, the bright Allis-Chalmers, and finally this golden Moline. Each machine tells a story of faith, sweat, and the unbreakable bond between a farmer and his land. If you grew up around these tractors, or if one still rests in your family barn, we'd love to hear your story. Share your memories in the comments, subscribe if you'd like to keep traveling these old country roads with us, and thank you, truly, for listening.